8 spine-chilling true trucker horror account sinister secrets revealed from the haunted roads. Jake was a dedicated long-haul trucker, lighting up the midnight highways with his rig as he drove through the bleak stretches of America's Midwest. Behind the steering wheel, he was a devoted father, dreaming of providing a better life for his 2 kids. But now, those dreams felt like a noose tightening around his neck, as Sarah's frantic calls cut through the hum of the road. "Something's wrong, Jake. The neighbors are acting strange. I can feel it." Her voice was drenched in fear, dragging him down a haunting spiral of dread. He drove on, but shadows flitted at the edges, blurring with the darkness. On lonely stretches, he saw silhouettes weaving between the trees, just out of sight, whispering horrors only the wind could capture. "Focus," he muttered to himself, fighting off the chill creeping up his spine. But every night, Sarah's dread echoed back in his head, thickening the air around him. Each time she called her tearful warnings feeling more urgent, he wondered if it was him that was being haunted, or her. The soft crackle of the radio interrupted his thoughts, resonating with whispers that threaded through the static. "Beware the towns you pass." The disembodied voice sent shivers down his back, a warning embedded in the strings of fear. He drove past those towns, all too aware of the hollow gazes of the locals, their eyes betraying knowledge of something unspeakable. Each town seemed to smile on the outside but wore a mask of sinister secrets underneath. As exhaustion clawed at his mind, Jake turned into a small town for a delivery detour. The instant he stepped out of the truck, he could feel the weight of their stares. He overheard locals conversing in tense whispers. "That politician, he's the reason." A connection began to coil around him like a serpent, suffocating and cold. They spoke of disappearances, each story like a heartbeat echoing through the empty night. A shiver ran down his spine, the hairs on the back of his neck prickling. Before he knew it, panic surged. It was time to leave. Focus on Sarah, the kids, he urged himself, drawing strength from thoughts of home. But as he drove away, shadows clung closer to the truck, edging into his sight, disappearing before he could turn his head. Jake's heart raced as dread mounted. What if these shadows weren't just tricks of his mind? What if the monsters were living and breathing among the neighbors he'd trusted? Then he found himself sprinting down narrow backroads, desperate for familiarity. "Turn back, Jake," echoed over the radio. His pulse quickened, terror gripping the wheel. The distorted voice dripped with malice, weighing heavy on him like a storm cloud, making him wonder what he'd really stumbled into. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each turn of the wheel, the dread became louder, insisting this wasn't just a bad night, it was a trap. He felt eyes piercing his back as he closed in on home. But just then, his phone rang. The beautiful voice of Sarah turned to a haunting distorted laugh on the other end, sending chills of betrayal racing across his skin. Who was this? Panic bubbled as he gripped the wheel tighter, heart pounding like a war drum. The darkness grew, and shadows whispered secrets he dared not imagine. Jake was driving straight into danger, and the question reverberated through his mind: who could he trust, when home might be the scariest place of all? His knuckles whitened against the steering wheel as he tried to comprehend what just happened. The laughter still echoed in his ears like a dreadful tune that wouldn't quit. Thoughts thrumming like a broken record, he tried to focus. It's just a prank, he told himself, but every corner of his mind screamed otherwise. The truck's headlights sliced through the darkness, illuminating an empty stretch of road. The trees loomed beside him like silent watchers, their branches clawing at the night sky with skeletal fingers. Shadows danced at the edges of his vision, glimpses of what could be lurking just out of sight. Fear folded inwards, wrapping tightly around him as he pushed the accelerator. Suddenly, his phone buzzed again. He hesitated before glancing down, his heart pounding when he saw the caller ID. Sarah's name lit up the screen. The laugh still lingered, twisting around his thoughts. His finger hovered over the answer button, doubt pooling in his stomach. What if it's them? He muttered. But there was no time to think. He pressed answer, his heart racing. Jake, please. Her voice came through shaky and distressed, cutting through the noise like a knife. They're here, at the house. You need to come home now. Who's there, Sarah? Who's with you? Panic surged through him like a flood, threatening to knock him off course. He's one of them. Her whisper dripped with terror. I can feel his eyes on me, Jake. He knows what I told you. They know. When the line went dead, terror drafted into his chest like ice. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back, to hurl himself towards the familiar sanctuary of home. But what awaited him there? The laughter replayed in his mind, a sinister echo of everything he feared. He needed a plan. The gas gauge fell dangerously low. He glanced at his surroundings, seeing nothing but deserted roads. The night had grown thicker, smothering him under its weight. No streetlights, no signs of life, just darkness closing in. Suddenly, in his periphery, a figure appeared by the roadside, motionless beneath a cluster of trees. He slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching in protest as the truck lurched. Jake's breath hitched as he peered out. It was a woman, her hair wild and disheveled, eyes wide and pleading. Help me! She shouted, arms flailing. You have to get away. Don't listen to them. Who are you? He shouted back, fear tightening his throat. They're not who you think they are. She screamed, stepping forward, the shadows consuming her figure. You have to. But just like that, she was gone, swallowed whole by the night. Jake's heart raced, confusion battling with instinct. The road ahead felt so lonely now, a vast emptiness where desperation gathered like storm clouds. Then the radio crackled back to life. Jake, Master's coming for you. The voice morphed into a chorus of laughs, each chuckle dripping with malice. The shadows danced close to the truck, creeping in without invitation. He turned the wheel, steering towards a flicker of light in the distance, praying it wasn't another trap. He would do anything to rescue Sarah and his family. But as he moved forward, the question pricked at him: what were the townsfolk hiding? What did they want him to see? What would he find at home? The fear twisted tighter in his gut as he pressed onward. The headlights illuminated the flickering glow ahead. Was that a welcome sign, or the last thing he could ever see? The flickering light pulsed like a heartbeat, drawing him ever closer. Was it salvation or a baited trap? Jake fought to suppress the rising knot of panic, focusing on the road ahead as the laughter echoed again in his ears, splintering his resolve. The light grew more pronounced, revealing itself as a gas station, a relic of forgotten times. Old, faded advertisements plastered the building, mocking him. He pulled into the cracked lot, the engine sputtering, leaving him in a thick silence punctuated only by the faint hum of the lights above. Sarah, he whispered, dread creeping deeper into his veins. He forced himself to step out of the truck, each footfall heavy on the ground beneath him. The air smelled stale, choked with the rust of neglect. Jake instantly regretted leaving the semblance of safety within the cab. As he paced toward the entrance, instinct screamed at him to turn back. But Sarah urged him onward from the depths of his mind, her terror giving him a shaky sense of purpose. He pushed the door open, the creak slicing through the silence. Inside, an eerie stillness enveloped him. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, bathing the place in a sickly pallor. Rows of dusty shelves filled with long-expired chips and sodas cluttered the room. No one was around. Jake's heart raced as he called out, "Hello? Is anyone here?" Only the droning silence responded. He edged further inside, his senses heightened, every brush of air tugging at the fringes of his nerves. He glanced toward the back of the store through the haze of dim light. A figure flickered in the corner of his vision. Jake whipped around, peering into the shadows. "Who's there?" His voice quaked, a fragile thing slipping through his lips. Silence hung heavily in response, but then a soft giggle echoed, chilling him to the bone. Jake, the sing-song voice rang out, familiar yet distorted. It was Sarah, but twisted, fractured. The laughter melded with whispered words, rattling his psyche. "You can't help her." Before he could respond, darkness swept over the room. The lights above blinked off completely, plunging him into a void of uncertainty. Jake's breath quickened, each heartbeat thrumming loudly in the oppressive silence. He stumbled back towards the entrance, colliding with the shelves, knocking over a row of sodas that shattered against the floor like glass bones. "Get out!" The voice was closer now, a command laced with urgency. He bolted for the door, heart pounding, tangling thoughts curling around each other, begging for clarity. But could he trust what he heard, or was it just more of their twisted games? He burst outside into the faint glow of the gas station sign, breathing in the night air that felt less suffocating. But as he turned to the exit, the woman from earlier stood there, not lost in the shadows anymore, but blocking his path with wide, pleading eyes. "Don't go back," she warned, her voice shaking. "They're waiting for you." Jake's stomach twisted painfully, but he pressed against the wall of fear urging him onward. "I need to save Sarah. You don't understand. They'll use her, to lure you in." The woman's eyes darted around as if she felt eyes watching from the darkness. "You can't trust anyone here." The faint laugh echoed again, crawling beneath his skin. Jake's nerves frayed tightly as uncertainty gnawed at him. What was real, and what was just their sick game? He was trapped in a web, and at the center lay the truth that he needed, yet dreaded, to uncover. Panic clawed at him, urging him to make a choice. What if he chose wrong? He hesitated at the storm of chaos looming in his mind. "Jake!" The gas station door crashed open behind him, and a shadow emerged. "Help me!" His pulse quickened. It was Sarah. But then the laughter roared around him once more, drowning out all sense of reality. That he was left at the edge of a decision, a choice steeped in fear, a step that could change everything. As he faced the quaking shadows of both the known and unknown, he realized whatever lay ahead, he would never be the same again. What awaited him at the heart of it all? Could he navigate the dark game that was beginning to unfold? The questions gnawed at him as the darkness hung heavy, waiting for his next move. Jake stood frozen, caught between shadows and shouts, the taste of fear metallic and bitter in his mouth. The tangled web of uncertainty tightened around him, a weight that threatened to crush him. He wanted to rush toward Sarah, to pull her from whatever abyss she was trapped in, but the warning from the woman punched through his heart. "They're waiting for you." He gritted his teeth, fighting the swell of frustration and desperation. The woman's eyes shimmered with urgency, pleading him to listen, but he couldn't shake the chilling agony of Sarah's voice echoing in his mind. Every heartbeat rang louder. Did she need him, or was this part of a delusion crafted by the darkness? "Jake!" The voice was frantic now, filled with a raw desperation that sent his nerves on fire. He took a step towards the entrance, fists clenching. The laughter faded for a moment but soon returned, the sound wrapping around him like barbed wire. It was telling him that hope was an illusion, a treacherous path leading deeper into danger. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A sudden chill enveloped him, biting at his skin. The flickering neon lights cast long shadows that danced maliciously, as if they had a life of their own. "Sarah?" He called out, heart racing, each syllable disappearing into the heavy air. No answer. "Jake! Please!" The anguished cry sliced through him like a knife, and with every plea, he felt the grip of reality slipping away. "She is not who you think she is." The woman whispered urgently, her voice barely above a breath. "They will use her to bring you in, to consume your soul too." Anger and fear swirled within him. "I don't care. I will save her." Before he could take another step, the door slammed shut, trapping him between the woman's fear-stricken gaze and the treacherous shadows beyond. A hollow laughter erupted, echoing in the confines of his mind, dredging up memories of Sarah's sweet smile, twisting it with dark promises of betrayal. "Why are you doing this?" he shouted, desperation morphing into rage. The woman's eyes darted around, paranoia consuming her. "They'll make a deal. You must run." "Don't!" The lights flickered violently, bathing the gas station in a jarring strobe. Shadows elongated grotesquely, stretching and retracting, seeking him like claws. "No!" he shouted, trying to push back the pull of darkness stalking him. "Jake!" That mournful tone accord with Sarah's essence resonated deep within him. Heart pounding, he struggled to breathe through the thickening dread. "Jake!" The woman reached out, but shadows clutched at her wrists, dragging her into the void. She screamed, abruptly cut off, leaving Jake with only silence and the mocking laughter filling the air. He staggered back, driven instinctively toward the store's doorway. "Sarah!" The scream shattered the silence like glass, his voice tinged with desperation. He could not turn away, could not leave her to whatever awaited inside that darkness, but as he reached for the handle, a frigid wind howled around him, carrying whispers of forgotten despair. "Come, you're one of us now." Was it a plea? A curse? There was no turning back. The door swung open effortlessly, revealing the pitch-black room beyond, the flickering lights outside casting an unnatural glow inside. Pooling dread filled his gut, threatening to eat him alive. A part of him screamed to run, but that voice battled against the overwhelming need to save Sarah, no matter the cost. And then he stepped through the threshold, into the void, uncertain of what awaited on the other side. As darkness closed in, the laughter erupted once more, a cacophony that numbed his senses, the air thickened with malevolence. Had he just made the worst choice of his life? But then, a shriek abrupt and piercing rang out from the shadows. "Jake! Help me!" It was coming from deeper within. Did he have the strength to follow her voice? Or would the shadows claim him before he got the chance? The choice pulsed in his veins, a heavy rhythm of terror and urgency, drawing him further away from the light. What lay in wait beyond the black? He had to know, and the dark game was only just beginning. Jake stepped into the void, the door slamming shut behind him with a finality that sent ice coursing through his veins. The darkness swallowed him whole, a thick shroud that muffled sound and swallowed light. He blinked rapidly, trying to adjust to the oppressive gloom, but it was no use. The shadows danced like dark figures, taunting him, whispering secrets he dared not hear. "Sarah!" His voice wavered, the word echoing into nothingness. The shadows around him shifted, as if waking from a slumber stirred by his call. A low, guttural chuckle rolled through the air, sinister and haunting. Jake's waiting. The laughter bounced off unseen walls, the sound curling into a cruel smirk, heart hammering. He pressed on, feet shuffling over cold, uneven ground. Each step took him deeper into the belly of the darkness, where the very air felt alive with malice. The temperature dropped, breath clouding before him in ghostly wisps. "Jake, save me!" The voice drifted from the depths, as sharp and piercing as the blade of a knife. It sliced through him, igniting a desperate flame, and he stumbled forward, instinctively reaching out. The darkness closed around him like a coffin, tightening, squeezing the breath from his lungs. "Sarah!" His shout was now a ragged whisper. It was almost as if the shadows were drinking in his fear, growing thicker and more tangible. They reached for him, sharp and clawed, cold as the grave. Shadows flickered, their forms coiling and twisting in grotesque shapes, wretched, sorrowful faces that formed and dissolved in an endless loop. "Don't let them take you!" Another voice warned, breaking through the cacophony. It was the woman from before. "You must resist." But the grip of the shadows tightened, slithering around his ankles, whispering promises of power and belonging. They offered him strength, glories beyond imagining, all for the price of his soul. "Fool," the darkness hissed. "Betrayal is woven into the fabric of love. Just like she will betray you." Vision blurred by doubt, Jake took a shaky breath. No. I want to listen. But deep down, dread coiled like a serpent around his heart, squeezing tighter with each moment. What if they were right? What if Sarah had become something else? Jake, I need you, don't let them win. The desperation in her voice fueled his resolve. Pushing against the tidal wave of shadows, he fought to make his way toward the sound. Breathless and trembling, he lurched forward, desperation clawing at his throat like an angry beast. Suddenly, a blinding light pierced through the dark, illuminating a small clearing ahead. Shadows recoiled, hissing in protest, retreating from the sudden brightness like creatures burned by fire. Sarah! Heart pounding, he rushed toward the light, fingers stretching toward that faint warmth, but as he neared the glowing sphere, he froze. A figure stood within it, her silhouette familiar yet twisted, her features obscured by the blinding radiance. Jake, the voice, sweet yet laced with something darker, reached out like a caress. You've come for me, Sarah? The name spilled from his lips like a prayer, but a flicker of doubt sparked in his mind. The warmth was intoxicating, but beneath it lay a dreadful chill. Come closer, Jake. You can't let them keep you from me. As she beckoned, shadows loomed at his back, their fingers creeping closer, yearning to yank him back into their cold embrace. Would he really step into the light? Or was he walking into a trap? In that suspended moment, reality fractured. The light pulsed, flickering as if the very essence of hope was about to be snuffed out. What lay beyond this shimmering surface? Was she truly his Sarah or something far worse? As the shadows pulled tighter, Jake's mind raced. Trust her? Run? The choice hung heavy, thick with despair. He could feel the darkness now, playful and cunning, whispering his fears as the figure in the light watched, a glimmer of something sinister in her eyes. There was no more time. The shadows surged, threatening to wrench him back. He could feel their icy grip inching closer, and with one final look, one question clamoring for clarity, he took a breath and lunged into the light. What awaited him in that blinding embrace? Would he find salvation or damnation? The dark game of shadows had only just begun. Jake collided with the light, the brightness enveloping him in a violent embrace. His body jolted as if he had stumbled into a wall of electricity. For a moment, he felt weightless, suspended between reality and a dream, where shadows merged and twisted like smoke. Then, it faded. He gasped, lungs burning as he fought for air, feeling the harsh contact of cool concrete beneath him. Dizzy, he blinked against the remnants of the blinding glow, struggling to comprehend his surroundings. He was in a dimly lit room, walls cloaked in peeling paint and festooned with strange symbols that pulsed faintly, echoing whispers of an almost forgotten language. An unsettling scent hung in the air, something sweet and decayed. Slowly, he sat up, adrenaline coursing through his veins like ice water. Sarah? He called out, voice hoarse, reverberating off the cold stone walls. Jake, the voice came again, softer yet more insistent, a delicate thread intertwined with the haunting echoes. It floated across the room, but it was layered with an urgency that sent a shiver down his spine. He rose to his feet, instinctively drawn to the source. Each careful step felt like a trespass into forbidden territory. As he approached a darkened corner, the shadows pulsed rhythmically, alive and hungry. Jake, please. The voice was now tinged with desperation. He could almost feel her presence, the warmth that used to radiate from her. But doubt gripped his heart like a vice. How could he know it was really her? Suddenly, the shadows recoiled as if sensing his turmoil. Light flickered from a doorway on the far side of the room, an outline of safety amidst the encroaching darkness. Memories surged of Sarah's laughter, her smile, the love they shared. But that thought was swiftly eclipsed by the specter of doubt. Don't listen to her. A sharp voice disrupted his thoughts. The woman from before, the one who warned him, emerged from the shadows. Her features were gaunt, eyes wide but filled with understanding. This is not the Sarah you remember. You must escape. Why don't you help me then? Jake shot back, his voice rising in frustration, fear simmering beneath. "I can't!" she shrieked, her face contorting in anguish. "There are rules here. We can't interfere with your journey. But you must trust your instincts. The shadows prey on your fear and doubt. Sarah needs me." He cried out, feeling the tendrils of darkness twist around his ankles, trying to pull him down into their depths. "Then you're playing into their hands." Her voice was rising above the cacophony, a desperate plea that filtered through the thick air. "Choose wisely, Jake." As he felt the pull of the shadows, a sharp, gnawing tug at his core, he faced the glowing doorway. A choice loomed ahead: either run toward the light and risk losing Sarah forever, or plunge back into the lurking darkness and hunt for lost hope. "Jake!" The voice screeched, now pleading and distorted, a cry that twisted his heart. "Please!" In that suffocating moment, his mind fragmented, every doubt he'd ever harbored, every regret crashing in like a dark wave. Shadows whispered sweet promises of power and liberation, weaving their manipulation deep into his thoughts and desires, but could he trust them? The uncertainty enveloped him like a fog, thick and choking. Was Sarah still inside the darkness? Or had she become lost beyond recognition? Taking a breath that trembled, he made his choice, the weight of it settling heavily upon his shoulders. The shadows screamed in rage, a cacophony of despair echoing through him as he lunged for the doorway, the light pulling him closer as he crossed the threshold. A chilling laugh echoed through the room, blending with the shadows in a final, spine-chilling farewell. What awaited him on the other side of the light? Would he find salvation, or merely another form of torment? The true horrors were still lurking, and the shadows were far from done. Jake stumbled forward, disoriented but propelled by an instinct to survive. The light was blinding, almost pulsating as it engulfed him. It wasn't the familiar warmth he sought after, it felt more menacing than comforting. As he crossed fully into the brightness, it abruptly receded, leaving him standing in another dark room, this one larger and filled with rows of empty, rusting shelves. He gasped as his eyes strained to adjust. A thick layer of dust coated everything, giving off an eerie stillness that pressed down around him. The room smelled of mildew and despair, the air heavy and stagnant. "Sarah?" he whispered, testing the silence. No response. Just the faint scuttling of something in the corners, a sound that made his heart race. Spotting a narrow door at the far side, he felt his heartbeat quicken. He glanced back, but the glowing doorway had vanished, consumed by darkness. Panic coursed through him. Was this another trap? He edged towards the door, each step slow and deliberate as if he were walking on thin ice. The scuttling grew louder, echoing in the cavernous space. A shadow flickered at the edge of his vision, and he froze, breath hitching in his throat. "Help me," the voice came again. This time it was closer, right behind him, laced with anguish, more urgent than before. "Sarah?" He turned, but there was only darkness wrapping around the edges of his vision. The shadows thickened, swirling, morphing into grotesque shapes that slithered along the ground. He stumbled backward, almost losing his balance. The whisper returned, now mingled with a cruel laughter that seemed to fill the room. "You shouldn't have come here." Jake's shadows danced in the corners, flitting past him like phantoms. "She isn't waiting for you. She's gone. Forever." "No!" he shouted, feeling the energy of his protests ripple through the air. He turned toward the door, more desperate than ever. The laughter intensified, clawing at his sanity, pulling at the remnants of hope that he held onto with trembling hands. Without thinking, he rushed forward, flinging the door open. It creaked ominously, revealing a dim hallway lined with flickering bulbs. The air was colder here, chilling him down to the bone. He stepped inside, feeling a weight pressing against his chest. Suddenly, he heard the unmistakable sound of footsteps, heavy, deliberate, pursuing him. The shadows behind him swarmed like locusts, a sea of darkness that roared in anger and despair. Jake, the voice was right behind him now, enticing, sinister. Don't you want to see her? To hold her once more? He faltered, almost giving in, haunted by the image of Sarah's face smiling, radiant, alive. But he remembered the woman's plea in the dim room, her warning echoing in his mind. He pushed forward, fighting against the exhaustion clawing at him. The hallway stretched on forever, spinning around him, warping into twisted realities. A flicker of light caught his eye, another door, slick and inviting. He lunged toward it just as the darkness grasped at his ankles, pulling him down, and he shoved the door open. Inside was a room bathed in a crimson hue, a stark contrast to the shadows outside. And there, in the middle, was a circle of candles, each flame flickering with a life of its own. In that moment, he felt a presence, something dark and ominous, suffocating. "Welcome," Jake said, a voice, smooth and chilling. "I've been waiting for you." Was it true? Was she in this room? Would he find her amongst the flames? The shadows loomed behind him, eager to reclaim what they had nearly taken. He was teetering on the edge of something dangerous, a precipice between salvation and doom. With a breath he might never take again, he stepped forward, sweat pooling at his brow. What awaited him? A truth that could shatter him, or a hope that might save him? The candles flickered again, and the room began to pulse with a dark energy, drawing him closer. What had he unleashed? Would he finally confront the darkness? Or was it already too late? The moment Jake stepped closer to the candles, it felt like the air around him thickened, wrapping itself around his throat. The shadows twisted and writhed beneath the crimson glow, a dark ocean churning at his feet. He could hear the whispers join together, forming a cacophony of taunts, beckoning him to surrender. "Jake, don't you miss her?" they crooned, lacing their words with dark temptation. "She's right here waiting." His heart hammered against his chest, each beat drowning out the laughter, but there was something else, an echo of a soft voice that brought a wave of clarity. "Find me, please, Sarah," he gasped, his voice breaking the sinister atmosphere. He staggered toward the circle of candles, desperate to break through the veil, to reach whatever truth lay just out of reach, but the flickering flames jumped violently. The shadows shifted, closing in, tightening around him like a noose. The warmth from the candles felt suffocating rather than comforting. They pulsed like a heartbeat, drawing him deeper, threatening to drag him beneath their flickering haze. "Foolish boy," the dark voice hissed again, now closer. "You've come to the wrong place. Here lies only despair." The flames danced higher, fiery tongues stretching out toward him. Suddenly, the circle of candles transformed into an inferno, casting grotesque shapes on the walls, figures with hollow eyes and twisted mouths, grasping toward him. Jake recoiled but found no escape. Behind him, the door had vanished, sealed by the very shadows that now taunted his existence. "Do you want to see her?" the voice whispered, low and alluring. "Do you truly think she is waiting for you? Her soul cries out, but not for you, Jake. You're too late. Shut up," he roared, fists clenched at his sides. "I won't believe you." But the visions danced before him, spinning memories. He wished he could forget Sarah's laughter, her sunny smile growing fainter until it dissolved into darkness. Images flickered past him, memories both wonderful and horrific, intermingling in chaotic slideshows of regret. He clutched his head, trying to block them out, but they penetrated the barrier of his mind. "Do you see? She's free. You can't save her." The voice turned mocking, dripping with satisfaction. Amidst the madness, an unsettling thought prickled at the edge of Jake's consciousness. What if he had come to the very end? What if searching for her had led to something worse? The flames flared one last time before exploding outward, engulfing him in a blistering wave of heat. Panic surged through him as he fell back, colliding with the invisible wall where the door had been. He grasped at his surroundings, searching for anything, a way out, a glimmer of hope. But there was nothing. Then, just when the shadows pinned him against despair, he spotted a shape flicker in the corner of his vision. There, amidst the chaos of flames and shadow, a figure stood silhouetted and serene. It was her. "Jake!" she cried, reaching toward him, her voice piercing through the darkness. His heart leapt. Was this real? Or another cruel trick? Come to me, she urged, desperation etched on her features. The shadows writhed around her, screaming as if they, too, wanted to pull her away. Clenching his fists, Jake felt a surge of determination. He couldn't lose her again. He dived forward, casting aside doubt as he broke from the grip of the shadows. Sarah! He shouted, lunging toward her as the flames roared, desperate to reunite, but just as he neared her, the figure began to dissolve, rippling like water as horror filled her gaze. No! Don't! They'll take you too! Everything collapsed around him. The binding darkness consumed him as he surged into the shadows, reaching, clawing, trying to grasp what he could never hold. The room darkened, and with it, Jake's resolve dimmed into a suffocating uncertainty. What had he unleashed? What had he lost? As silence fell, he felt himself drifting, suspended in a vast emptiness, dread creeping in like a chilling fog. What awaited him in this void? Would he truly lose everything, or was there still a glimmer of hope in the shadows? Jake floated in that suffocating void, his thoughts spiraling like leaves caught in a storm. The echoes of Sarah's voice lingered in his ears, both a comfort and a cruel reminder of what he longed for, and what he had lost. Darkness wrapped around him like a shroud, and as his heart raced, he realized the truth: he was utterly alone. Sarah! He cried again, desperation clawing at his throat. But only silence answered, a silence so deep it felt alive, an entity pressing against his chest, squeezing the breath from his lungs. Slowly, shapes began to weave through the darkness, forms materializing from the blackness like ghosts rising from graves. Eyes, lots of them, flowed around him, glistening like shards of ice. They watched him with an intensity that sent shivers of dread racing down his spine. The whispers returned, a haunting lullaby that enveloped him. "You shouldn't have come here, Jake," they taunted, their tones curling around him like fog. "So many souls, so many regrets, you will join them soon." He turned desperately, trying to find anything, any sign of a way out. The shadows shifted and swirled, mocking him as he darted from one direction to another. "This is your end." The voices combined into a deafening roar, vibrating through his very bones. "Get away from me!" he shouted, his fists swinging instinctively at the encroaching darkness. But the shadows coiled tighter, and the icy breath of despair seeped into his skin, chilling him to the core. Images of Sarah flickered within the darkness beyond the eyes, moments frozen in time. Their laughter at the park. Her smile when he surprised her at work with flowers. Every stolen moment flooded back, pulling him deeper into the abyss, and he clawed at his head, desperate to drown out the memories. Suddenly, a burst of light surged through the darkness, blinding and stark. Jake shielded his eyes, heart pounding. As the brightness dulled, he found himself standing in a familiar place. The old abandoned diner, its sign flickering ominously. Jake's breath quickened. Why here? Was it a cruel joke? The diner had always felt haunted, and yet here he was again. He stepped forward cautiously, each creak of the floor underfoot a reminder of what he faced. Shadows lurked in the corners, whispering secrets he didn't want to hear. Then, as if compelled by a force beyond his control, he headed towards the back booth where they used to sit. "I know you're here," he whispered, his voice trembling. "Show yourself." For a long moment, nothing stirred. But then, from the shadows, Sarah appeared. She looked different, hollowed, as if part of her essence had been stripped away. Her eyes were hard, searching for something that was lost. "Jake, it's not safe," she warned, her voice a ghost of itself. "You have to leave while you still can." "What do you mean?" he gasped, desperation bleeding through. "I can save you, Sarah. Just let me help you." "It's not you that needs to be saved," she said, stepping back as if the very air between them burned. "It's me. You have to understand, I'm trapped. This place is a prison. Panic clawed at him as he searched her face for hope. No. I came to find you. I won't abandon you here. Just then, darkness surged forth from behind her, swarming like a living creature, tendrils reaching for Jake. He recoiled, heart hammering as he realized the truth in her words. You need to go, Sarah shouted, tears streaming down her face. Before they take you too. The diner trembled, walls vibrating with the furious whispers, the shadows urging him to join them. Jake! Sarah cried one last time, her voice breaking. Don't stay. You must. The shadows surged over her, engulfing her. He stretched out his hand, but it was too late. No. Sarah. Jake stumbled back as the darkness clawed at him, desperate to pull him into oblivion. He fought against it, but despair hung heavy in the air, threatening to swallow him whole. Just when he thought all was lost, he caught a glimpse of a strange light flickering somewhere deep within. Could that be a way out? Or another trap, as he stood at the precipice of choice, trembling. At what lay ahead, the shadows howled in fury. Would he plunge into the unknown for one last chance to save Sarah, or was he walking straight into his own demise? Jake stood on the brink of despair, eyes locked on the shadows that clung to every corner of the diner. His heart thundered in his chest, the chaos swirling around him like a violent storm. He could feel the darkness, alive and hungry, reaching for him with icy fingers. But somewhere, deep within that suffocating void, sparked a flicker of hope, a light that beckoned with the promise of salvation. Sarah! He shouted, his voice echoing against the bleak walls, filled with desperation. I won't lose you. I'll find a way. But the shadows mourned, whispering as they pooled around his ankles. You can't save her, you're just as trapped, they hissed. Each syllable wrapped tightly around his resolve, threatening to strangle the remaining shreds of hope within him. With a sharp breath, he lunged toward the light, propelled by instinct and love's fierce urgency. I won't give up. The moment his foot crossed into that glowing aura, all the weight of the dark receded, leaving him breathless in an expansive void. He stumbled forward, blinded momentarily as everything around him dissolved into brilliance. Gradually, the light faded, and he found himself standing alone in a vast, empty field under a velvet black sky, millions of stars twinkling above. Was this the way out? Another illusion? Jake took a moment to breathe, his heart racing. The softness of the field contrasted sharply with the darkness he had just escaped. Sarah! He cried again, the word bursting from his lips like a prayer. Then, a voice drifted through the stillness. Jake, please. He turned, his pulse racing as he recognized her voice, soft yet layered with sorrow. There she was, shimmering in the starlight, illuminated like a beacon against the night. Sarah! Tears brimmed in his eyes as he rushed towards her. Don't get close. She warned, her voice trembling. Shadows loomed behind her, flickering at the edges, eager to pull her back away from him. It's a trap. They want you to come closer. The desperate plea sent a stab of panic through him. No. I won't let them take you again. Jake, you don't understand. I'm not the same. What's left of me cannot be saved. If you come near, they will consume you too. You must break the cycle. Her eyes shone with both fear and clarity, desperately urging him to see the truth. But I can't leave you. The words escaped him, raw and desperate. I love you. The shadows danced furiously behind her, growing darker and more foreboding, stretching like tendrils toward Jake. You must break free from this. She cried, tears sparkling as they fell. Live. Don't let them take you like they did me. Jake felt the gravity of her words crash over him like a wave. He could see her, beautiful and vibrant, yet he knew the truth, the price he might pay. I will find a way. I promise. He shouted, desperation slicing through him. Jake, her voice slipped like sand through his fingers. You've already made the choice. You can walk away now. Please. Save yourself. Each moment of her fading presence carved deeper into his heart. Shadows whispered dark promises, beckoning him closer, eager to claim him. No! He yelled, fighting against the seductive pull of despair. With every ounce of strength, he turned his back to her, the tears streaming down his face as he clutched the pain of loss tightly in his chest. He began to run, each step feeling like a rejection of the darkness that begged him to stay. The whispers clawed at his mind, but he pressed on, and then it happened. The shadows, no longer mere specters, surged towards him in a tidal wave, a darkness that threatened to choke him as he reached for the edge of the field. "You cannot escape," they shrieked. "You belong with us." But suddenly, he burst through to the other side, a blinding light that encompassed him, lifting the weight of the shadows. He felt the warmth wash over him, pulling him close. And then, just like that, he was falling. Tossed into the void, consumed by the light. When he opened his eyes, he was back in his truck, parked safely at the side of the road. The familiar hum of the engine filled the air, the warm glow of dawn pushing the darkness away. It felt surreal, the memories colliding, the horror lingering just beneath the surface but now fading. "Jake!" A small voice broke through as he startled, turning to see his two kids climb into the cab. Relief flooded his veins. "You're home." "Hey, kiddos," he breathed, pulling them into an embrace, feeling the warmth of their bodies chase away the shadows he defaced. He could see it now, their innocent laughter and bright eyes reminded him of all that was good. He stepped out into the sunlight, stretching under the light of a new day. The darkness lingered in the far corners of his mind, but he decided he would cherish the sunlight, the laughter, the love he had. Hurdles may always come, but the shadows had no power here. Jake looked back one last time, promising to never forget, and with a determined heart, he drove toward home, into the warmth of cherished memories, where hope and love triumph over the darkness. The end. You need to subscribe now. You don't want to miss future stories that will give you chills and thrills. Smash that like button now to show your support and help our channel grow. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about how Jake's journey resonates with you. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this intense conclusion. Your support means everything.